Guys, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for having me. Now, where do I start this? Now, as much as I love young players, and obviously I want my young players to stay at Arsenal and things like that, because I love young players so much and I care about development for first and foremost, I was putting myself in the shoes of a couple of our young players that they might not be heralded as the likes of Emil Smith, Trey Coyle, Amici, Nelson, etc., etc. I'm talking about the likes of it was once upon a time, but Bielik. You might hear one, two Ben Chafe sometimes. Mavididi, or maybe not of recent years, maybe not now. And these sort of Mandez, Alalem, these sort of guys that are talented, but you can only be a young player talented at a club for so long before. I know whether you play for Arsenal, a lot of Chelsea youngsters are probably guilty of it too. United and all the top six. You want to stay you want to stay at the club. You feel, I mean, it's a top six club. You feel like a king and things like that. But the older you get, every year you're not in the first team or nowhere near it. Questions to ask. So there's a couple players. If I was them, I'd consider my Arsenal future. And if I really cared about my future, I don't want to say they don't care, but I would consider leaving. Firstly, I'll start with Colin Bramall. Purely because you never know. I mean, you never know if you could. You can't rule out that he might not have a future here. My personal opinion is Bramall has no qualities to suggest he can make it here. There's not one quality. I will hold my hands up, and I'm not trying to get at the guy and be personal and things like that because I rate his journey and his come up from working in a factory to being a full-time footballer essentially at one of the top six clubs. That's something I would never do. He's played for Arsenal in the pre-season thing. He's done more in his life than I can, I would like to do in that sense. But I don't feel he has any noticeable qualities to suggest he can have a future here. I don't think he's good enough defensively. I don't think he's good enough offensively. He's 22, so if he is going to be involved, he has to be named on the squad list. Added to that, that means registered, so that's taking up a squad place so that someone else could take up. Added to that, at his age as well, he's gone off with the under 23s to Germany, whereas the first team have gone obviously to Singapore. If you're doing that at these ages, something needs to happen. I don't know if Unai Emery rates you or not, but last year Wenger brought you on tour. Now you're not brought on tour. Your loan spell was underwhelming in Birmingham as well. So I'm happy to see he's going to have a future in the game versus having to work in a factory and things like that. But I don't feel it's going to be at Arsenal. So if I was him, probably bite the bullet and leave. To be fair, no point mentioning Jenkinson. Bielik. I say Bielik because I'm looking at Bielik. I was brought to this club. I was made into a centre half. I was told there's a pathway. I do believe if I was Bielik, I genuinely believe I could make it here. Whether it's at centre half or you might have to convert to a centre half, but you might have to revert back into defensive mid. In fact, that adaptability might make you an attractive proposition to an Emery. And in that sense, I do think he's lacking experience because he doesn't concentrate at the levels you required at the top level. But he's commanding, he's composing, he's good in a tackle, he's good with the ball at his feet. I do think he could have a future here. But if I was him, I'd believe I could play, but I'm looking at Ben Chafe, who's technically classed as a centre half at times. You got obviously Chambers and Holding, Mavropanos, Socrates, Mustafi, Koscielny, and we can't rule out on the basis that we're linked with an additional centre half. We don't know in it. That's 8 man, including you. That's bare man ahead of you. Like that's bare man ahead of you. Only certain people can play, and obviously like Cohen, he went off with the under 23s to Germany. Obviously, if you stay at the club and you might get a look in the cup competitions or if there's injuries and you take your chance. But if I was him, I'd be considering my future purely because you was linked with Galatasaray. I'm so sure they're in the Champions League. You've played at the under 21s championship for your country. You're making progress, but it's not being replicated at club level. You was farmed out on 2 loan spells. Birmingham was good, but injury killed it. Warsaw was a poor spell, and I don't know what decision that was. I do feel generally this club, in regards to personal development or individual development, in regards to Bielik, has been very laxed, considering when he was brought to the club and his development now. So I'd consider leaving if I was him. He's 20, turning 21 in January, so you need to make a move. Mavididi, he's seen someone younger than him in Eddie Nketiah get chances. Mavididi's done well. Since he's gone on loan to senior football, he's been very unlucky with injuries, especially at Charlton. He'll get there, show his bits, and unfortunately get injured. But if I'm him, 20, turning 21 next year, not really within, this could all change, but not really having a look in within the first team, despite being one of the first to return from injury. I mean, from pre-season. I'd consider my future. There's a lot of strikers at this club. I mean, strikers and wingers, every club's linked with one every year, more or less buys one every year. So it's a tough ask. You're 20, you need to probably play football, go somewhere, find a permanent home versus being farmed out for the last 2 seasons. I know his loans at Preston in the Championship wasn't working out and didn't happen for him. but his loan spells at Charlton, respectively, have given him more confidence and been better to him. So I'd consider my future if I was him. If I'm Martinez, Ilev, I know Ilev signed a new deal, and Matt Macy, purely because you man are at the age where surely you want to, obviously being a second choice or third choice keeper at a top 6 club, depending on your ability like these man, is a good thing. You'd want to stay, but even definitely Macy and Ilev, like, you lot are big men now. You're 23. Like, don't you want to play first team football rather than academy and bench and stuff? Again, it's Arsenal, like other top 6 clubs. You want to stay and be a part of it and things like that because of the opportunities. But don't all three of you want to play football and grow up a bit and actually play for a team where you have a chance of starting on a Sunday when you train in the week? That's my personal opinion, because I don't really see that any of you. I mean, I like Macy and I like Martinez, but I can't see at this current moment in time how you lot could ever be number one for my club. I'd love to be proven wrong, and it's not even a proven wrong thing, because I think they've got ability. I'm just looking at footballers who want to play football, and if I'm a young player, I want to play first team football. I don't really want to play youth football anymore. So if it was me, I'd be considering Zelalem. He's a bit different, because if I'm him, I'll just be right now focusing on my fitness, getting my fitness back, getting confidence back, starting, because I believe Zelalem has it technically. If it was just based on technical ability, be in the first team. The problem now is for him to dictate games, boss games. People leave the match knowing that it was him in it. I still think he can have a good career at some level in the top league and still be an important player for America at international level. But if I'm him, there's probably too many midfielders ahead of you at this moment in time. Again, it can all change, but there's probably too much ahead of you. You're not getting a look in. This year should probably, you didn't even go Germany. You're staying back to do your rehabilitation. This year should just be about fitness, confidence, and then moving in January or either on loan or permanently, or definitely in the summer. I'm not too sure how long's left on his contract, but I like Zelalem regardless if he stays here or not. And Ben Shafe. Now, people have said he's highly rated. People have said he's good. I think he's a good player. He's very adaptable. I would say it remains to be seen whether he's mastered a position as sorts, but he's a jack of all trades currently. He can fill in at right back, centre half, defensive midfield, where he's probably the most comfortable, and things like that. I wasn't a fan of his loan to Stevenage. No disrespect to Stevenage, but similar to these Warsaw loans, these don't feel like the best environments to be sending young players to. And he was kind of involved under Wenger. Wenger kind of rated him highly. It doesn't look like, again, forgive me if I'm wrong, but under Unai Emery, it doesn't look like that. You haven't been involved in first team pre-season, so I don't think you're gonna get a look in like that. And if I'm you, there's, regardless of, like I said, his adaptability of being able to play a couple of positions, but there's competition in all. You look at even fullback. There's also two Liechtenstein, Bellerin. Midfield, I don't need to list them all. Between man that's his similar age trying to break in and the ones already there. Centre half is already a bit political, regardless. And if I'm honest, I would even add to the mix and bring in a quality centre half. No disrespect to anyone here. So yeah, man. These are the players, if I'm them, I'll probably missed out a couple, but these are the players, if I was them and I'm still connected to Arsenal, I'd be considering my future. Even Peg Laroso should be considering his future as well, because I care about development. Like, I care about, obviously I want people to make it to the first team, but you should all care about your development in the same way that Kalen Hines, Chris Willock, Gnabry, and many, Marlon, Benassia, Rene Adelaide now are taking the initiative, and rather than staying at clubs for years and signing new contracts and never getting a look in, they're going after what they want. Whether it happens for them or not is a different story, but you can only applaud someone that actively goes after what they want. I lie, people, or am I chatting nonsense there? So yeah, man. Even Josh Da Silva, I rate him highly. I believe he could break in potentially. Whether it remains to be seen whether it's in centre mid or fullback. I don't think it's at fullback. But on the basis of bodies in front of you, I'd be considering my future as well. Because if you go to a different club, you might be a thing where you have that clear pathway. But what do I know? Guys, deluded. Get in the comments, subscribe, and do the rest. I'm out. Thank you very much for watching, of course.